This is part 2 of the video we started a couple months ago in the workshop here in the Midwest location, which might be confusing because there has been a couple other videos on these. If you recall, in part 1, this was disassembled at the work location, being that it had never been serviced before. It's been in service since 2000. It no longer ran, the fan stopped, and we spent extensive amount of time cleaning it, and really we need to probably oil the fan bearing and reassemble, and hopefully we have some luck from there. So being that it's the dead of winter, I brought this indoors to make it more of a indoor project versus that outdoor, what's really indoors, but the workshop. So I'm going to try to do this here and see what we can come up with. Yeah, okay, there's a lot of disassembly that occurred here. And what we wanted to do is the last piece of this. Oil this. So we have some Zoom Spout, which I did acquire this for this project. I have some back at the home location, and I was in a dilemma of packing this thing up and bringing it 700 miles home, or packing up my Zoom Spout and bringing it 700 miles here. So that's really what halted this project last time, was I needed oil. So just a few drops. Oh yeah. And I can get to, it's tricky, I actually can get to the rear bearing on this. It's just so here's the rear bearing there, and it has a shaft and a rotor, just like a typical box fan would. And just make a mess on my table here. Just a couple drops. There's no wick or anything like that. Now this is a Swiss-made product, so it's generally well made. There we go. Okay, perfecto. So we have here, those are the ultraviolet lights. Man, I was really smart with myself here. I left the tools I needed in these shopping bags. This has been here for months. Now, I believe holds the motor in place. So we'll go Phillips head. I do have to, let's see, reach in there because there's a little bit of dust. I'm going to try to move the camera so you can really see what I'm doing here. So what we did was, if you were not able to see it before, we oiled the front bearing. I was able to pull the back out, which you saw, right? Pretty good. We just dropped those screws in there, and I wanted to take, you might be able to see it, there's a little more dust in there, and I have a paper towel. I did bring a small shop back up from it, because I didn't recall if there was any dust down in here. Okay, this is fine. We did really a good job last time we were in here cleaning. Okay, I think that's pretty good. All right, so now let's just look for the right size driver here. I probably had all this laid out before. Actually, now I do have, not to be outsmarted. Don't think that's lined up properly. So let's come right back to that. All right, so now the interesting thing is these two screws go down in, and there's no nut on the bottom end, which is surprising, unless they vibrated loose at some point when this thing was in operation, but I cannot see or hear where they might, ooh. What could that be? What and where is that? Ooh. I think might be on to something. Found one. So it looked like what happened was, in operation, these things vibrated off. Hopefully you can still see what I'm doing. So basically I'm reaching underneath. Yeah, that's it, that fits. That's my problem. All right, so we can get one in place. That's great. Okay. Now, I hear the other one. Get lucky and get to fall out. I'm gonna pause this while I do that. All right, I got lucky. I got it out, and it fell out, and it landed on the table on top of the parts bag there. So I'm gonna put this one in. It's so interesting that this had happened. Now there's, okay, I can make this happen here. I gotta say, these are well designed, aside from that flaw, but I think it could have even been user error, meaning when I removed these screws, was unaware that there was nuts on the bottom of these screws and that they just fell down in, which is probably likely. All right, yeah, now we're good. Oh, that feels nice. Okay. Move this little piece down here. Okay, so next, I'm gonna try to put this fan back on. So we had cleaned it already. Is that the correct way? Here. Just trying to find a flat part, much like a box fan. Yeah, the way was the correct way, I believe. This gives me PTSD from my McGraw Edison fan where I can't line up the flat part, but here we clearly did. So I have the hardware for that here. All right. So washer probably actually goes underneath, right? Maybe, no. There's like a lock washer already on there. I don't think that's correct. Next. So from experience, you actually have to kind of button this thing up before you turn it on. There's like a safety in it or whatever, or sensor that prevents you from doing this. Okay, so these are just like I guess you call them the ultraviolet lights. They make these really plug and play. So you can see, hopefully you can see. Make sure you can see. Try to get there more. So you can see what I'm doing. All right. Try to do this at an angle here so you can see. So these are pretty straightforward. I think they go in this way, or do they go? No, they would go this way. So they just kind of rest on these. Just make the connection here. All right, and then these. Just you hand tighten. Now, I don't know if these lights work. I think are they UV lights, but they're about $80 to replace. But we're gonna see if they work first. And it takes 2 seconds to swap them in and out, so it's not like I get upset if I reassemble this whole thing and it won't work. I'm more worried about that fan spinning, actually, because it was not perfect before we took this apart. And as I talked about in other videos, this retails for about $1,200, and You know, you just got to give it a little TLC and it lasts, but this was giving 0 TLC and it just failed. Whoops. All right, so the last part of this is reassembling the back and the top. I think the top goes first, which you cannot see. There you go, now you can. That's easy. Maybe the back goes first. Filter, which we had cleaned already. Now there's a little screw. There we go. There's a little screw that holds that in. And I guess you could get away without it, but... And I believe when you purchase this thing, it actually comes with a teeny tiny screwdriver for it. Go. Why it's not setting in right. I might have it backwards. Let's just double check. I think I have it backwards actually. Because if it sits like this, yeah, there we go. That makes way more sense. Yeah, because that, I was wondering because these filters have a little tab. So when you unscrew it, you can just pull it out. But you can see that you really don't need this screw here, but nonetheless, we have it, we will use it. This is not the little screwdriver that came with this thing, but I don't know where it is because the short got tossed because this is used in an office. All right. Now, so that just pops in like that, and there should be two, before we do that, all right. I have a couple of screws that drop in here, drop in here, that we need to button up. Now, I don't know what those screws go to. It feels like nothing. It feels like oblivion. And let's just see here. Yeah, not quite sure the deal there with that. Because I think at the time when I removed them, I thought that somehow this piece was separate when I was just tearing it apart, or something else would let go underneath, like this. There's a bracket in there. All right, so let's get that. All right. So now there's two more screws. Oh yeah. Okay. They go here, I believe. Yep. Again, this thing is so well made, like it has hardware, but like it doesn't need the hardware to hold it together. It's just wild. feel like sometimes, unfortunately, a lot of made products, even with the hardware that they have, they don't stay together. And okay. All right, now let's give this a shot. This one is all right. It's like magnet. Reminds me of stereo cabinet doors in the 80s. All right, well, the next piece of this is, let's give it a shot. Make sure you're with me for this. I am making a mess. This is what I'm doing. Let's get this trash out of the picture here. All right, so there is a wire tie, not a wire tie. Yeah, I guess a wire tie holding the rest of this cord together. So let's just take that off so we can extend it to get to the outlet. That's a good sign. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is reset the clean and the cell lights blinking there. So they are on, but we still have no fan. Oh, the fan is starting to spin very slowly. Very slowly. I'll show you. So it wasn't working at all before. Now it's spinning. If anyone knows what they think that could be, it'd be great. But usually that fan moves a bit faster. I think if I It's not really doing the job it should be doing. So I'm going to take you to a, just for demonstration, I think there's another one operating in this building. I'm going to show you. So I apologize for the darkness. It's the weekend and I'm roaming around the office, but here is another one that obviously needs to be serviced. You can see that fan moving. Actually, has one. I think it has one of the UV lights burned out, and there's the bottom one's on. This one could be next on my list. You can just see that humming along. In the same settings, or settings, sorry, I got the tripod here. See the lights flashing down there, the same service lights are on. This has never been serviced. 5 years, almost 5 years. All right, let's go back up. All right, so this one, this is where I could use YouTubers out there for help. Just don't understand why it's spinning so slowly. As we know from manually turning it on and off, or manually spinning the blades, everything, I mean, it seems to be nothing holding that bearing back. The bearing feels really good. Does anyone know what this could be? All right, so I'm gonna button it up for now. And I think what I'll do is I'm not gonna put it in the service in case it caused more damage than not. But we will continue to do research to figure out what the deal is on this Vollara Surface, I think it's called Vollara Surface Pro, Air Surface Pro. And the reason I didn't call it out sooner is because I've done so many videos with this thing, with these models, that I just think that I already did it in this particular video. All right. There we go. All right, everything's buttoned up. Yeah, so Vollara Air Surface Pro. Look them up. So I'm aware of 5 of these units, and this is the only unit that's having this kind of problem. My personal unit, which I got to visit, it's making some noise. It's at the condo location, but the fan goes, you just hear like this, not grind, but this noise that sounds like it could be just come from the bearing. Probably needs a little oil. So we might investigate that one. And then you saw the one downstairs that has never been serviced, but it still works fine. And there's one in our lab, which that one's kind of last on my list because they do use that. I hear it on when I walk in there. The one downstairs, it's on and it's off. It's on. What happens is the power trips, turns them off, and then people forget about them. And until someone's just like, oh, I got to turn it back on again. Most people who turn these back on forget to turn the lights on because you got to hit the setting. So they just have the fan going. But that's probably why these lights have lasted so long, because they're not on most of the time. All right, well, make sure you comment, like, subscribe. Some people don't like being told what to do, so you can do what you want, but it would mean a lot if you did that. And what would mean a lot is if someone has an idea on that fan, would love to visit it. Certainly comment. And again, thanks for watching.